What is up, guys? Back at it again with another Godot tutorial. Let me just preview the game that we're gonna create. It's let's say a 2D platformer. I don't know the gender of this game. I'd call it a 2D platformer. I don't care. I'm gonna hit Command B and run the game just so that I can preview the game. I also did this game in Unity as well. I called it Monster Chase, and I'm gonna call it Monster Chase here as well. So we have our player over here. He is moving and he needs to avoid these monsters, because if they kill him, if they hit him, and apparently I'm very good at this game. Come on, man. Where's the monster here from the left side? Because we're randomizing, and here's another from the left side. And when it touches me, I'm just gonna resize this so that we can play a little bit better. But anyways, when one of these monsters touches me, as you just saw, I'm gonna die. You see, bam, boom. I have died, the game has restarted. So basically that is the game, but we will see how we can create and control our player, how we can create these monsters, how they can have their own AI, and how we're gonna do all of the good stuff that you just saw. So let's get into the video. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is delete this editor or close this editor, because I have another one, and yeah, don't mind my edit video recording software over here. So voila, here is our new project. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 2D scene, and this one is going to be gameplay. So I'm going to call this one gameplay, and in the resources folder, I'm going to create a new folder and call it scenes and hit OK. And in the scenes folder, I'm going to save the gameplay scene. So go over there and save it. Now, before we continue, let's go over here and import these assets. So these are the assets. I'm just going to copy them, these sprites. You can download them. Link will be in the description below. So make sure that you download these assets. Link will be in the description below. And what I'm going to do next is on the resources and go here and locate it. So open file manager, paste them. So when I go back here in my engine, they are going to load. I'm going to click on the plus button right here next to gameplay to open a new scene, because we're going to create a player. And here I'm going to call this one player, because he is going to be our player. I mean, what else can I say is going to be our player? Now, in regards to our player, I'm going to change the type, because currently the type is Node 2D. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go here, change type, and I'm going to filter for kinematic body 2D. So kinematic body 2D, because I want our player to be kinematic body 2D. Command S to save this in the scenes folder. So Command S to save it. So what is the first thing to do with our player? First of all, I'm gonna click on the plus button, and here I'm gonna filter for animated sprite, actually not sprite animation, but animated sprite. Here it is, and I'm going to call this one animation. And let me just zoom in over here. So I'm gonna zoom in. And this is our animation for the player. What we need to do is we need to click on it. So click on this animation over here. And for the frames, we are going to click here, new frames. So new sprite frames. I'm going to click there. And here we can create our sprite frames. So the first one is going to be idle. And for the idle, let me just go here in sprites and player. And I'm going to drag this one. So this is our idle animation. So the first one, the first frame, nothing too complicated. Next, right here where it says idle, you see this box over this document thing, and it has a little plus button at the bottom right corner. I'm going to click on that, and it will create a new animation. I'm going to call this one walk. And for the walk, I'm going to select all images from 2 up to 7, and I'm going to simply drag and drop them over here. So now, selecting the animation over here and clicking play, you will see that the animation is playing, but it's playing slow. So I'm going to take here the frames per second, I'm gonna say 12, which is going to make them, you see, it's gonna make them a little bit faster. So yeah, this is what I want. And let me just go back over here and turn off the playing, and I'm going to click here idle to play idle again. So now, selecting the player, you see we have this exclamation mark over here. We need to add a shape, because this is a kinematic body. We need to have a shape on it. So I'm gonna right click, add the child node, and filter for collision shape 2D. And attach that collision shape 2D on the player. Next, go here inside of our shape, you see, click on it, and on the right side, you see we have the shape. I'm gonna click on that, and I'm gonna select new rectangular shape, and I'm gonna zoom in and move it something like this, maybe move it over here and resize it. So this is something that you can do on your own. This is nothing complicated, and now I'm gonna save it. Simply, this is the body, this is the shape where we're going to detect collisions when it comes to our player. So when the player touches something, in our case a monster, so when we touch a monster over here, as you can see on the left or right side, or up or above, above or down. Anyways, we are going to detect that collision, but we need this shape in order to do that. So now we have the player, and if I go here in our gameplay and take the scene here and put the player inside of the scene, and if so, I'm gonna call LOL on this one. Instead of running the game, I start my screen recording software. Okay, that was awkward. So let us continue. Command B to run our game, which is going to prompt me to select which scene is going to be the main scene when we run our game, and it's gonna be gameplay. So I'm gonna double click here, and it is going to be gameplay, and this is what we see. Now I am going to resize this a little bit. So in order to resize it, we need to go on the project and project settings. And here for in the window, let me just find it over here. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Window. So the width of my project is going to be 1280, so HD by 720. The test width is going to be 640, and the test height is going to be 360, so half of this value. And we're still not done, because if I go back here and run the game, you will see what we have. You see the players over here. We don't want that. We need to go back again. So project and project settings, and at the bottom for the stretch, it's disabled. We need to set it at 2D, and aspect is going to be keep. And now when I come back, Command B, we're going to see our player, and it looks really nice. So now we have our really, really cool game. It looks nice on the window for HD resolution. So what is the next step to do? Let's go over here in our resources folder and create a new folder that I'm going to call scripts. So scripts folder, and inside of that folder, I'm gonna right click and create a new script. I'm going to choose here C#, and let's go over here and new script, and I'm going to call this one player, and I'm going to hit create, and it's gonna create it. And here in the gameplay scene, select, or actually in the player scene, select the player and go here for the scripts and load it. So from the scripts folder, we're gonna load the player script, and let me just double click on it and open it in Visual Studio, because we are gonna use Visual Studio for this. And here I'm gonna keep it in the dock, or unkeep it from the dock. So let's go over here. What do we need in our player script? What is that thing that we need? Well, we always need a couple of variables, but before that, let me just tag the class and move a little bit down and move this like this here. And this is not gonna be process, but it's gonna be physics process. So we're gonna have a physics process, and here above we are gonna inherit from kinematic body. So kinematic body 2D instead of the node. We're going to have a private vector 2, which is going to be our movement, and I'm going to call that one by default vector to 0. Next, we're gonna have a private float, which is going to be our move underscore speed. By default, I'm going to say it's 400, and these variables are self-explanatory. So movement we're gonna use for the movement, speed we're gonna use for the speed. Now moving forward, we're gonna have a private float gravity, which is gonna be equal to 20. I know gravity is 9.8, but I don't care. I'm going to set it in 20, breaking the laws of physics over here. And we are also going to have a private float. This is going to be our jump underscore force. By default, I'm going to say negative 900. We're gonna have here also a private vector 2, which is going to be up direction. So up dir is equal to vector 2 up, like this. And basically that's that. Later on, we will have for animation here, we will have a private animated sprite, which I'm going to call animation, but that will come. Don't worry about that. Now, inside of the player movement, which is something that we didn't create. So here, player movement like this. And inside of the player movement is where we are going to detect the input. But first of all, let me just format this and call the player movement inside of the physics process. So this is where I'm going to call it. Now, inside of the player movement, what we're going to do is we're going to detect if our input, so if input dot is key, so is key pressed, and or actually is action. So we're going to use an action. So is action pressed, and the action is going to be here in quotes, and I'm going to call this one move right. So move right. And as you can assume, I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say else if input is move left, And also here we're going to have else. So we're going to have all of these statements. So what is gonna happen next? What we are gonna do? Well, if we're moving right, we're gonna move the player right. If we're moving left, we're gonna move left. But before that, we need to copy these. So we need to go back here in our engine and project settings. And here for the input map, I'm gonna paste move right. I'm also going to paste move left, and I'm also going to type here jump. So we're going to have jump as well. Now here for our move left, or actually move right, I'm going to click on the plus button and select a key. And that key is going to be D. So I click D on my keyboard. I'm going to click OK. Click on the plus button and key again, and right arrow and click OK. So now we have the right key as well, or the right arrow key. Click on the plus button and key, and I'm going to click A now and click OK. And click on the plus button for move left key and left arrow, which is going to say left, and I'm going to click OK. For the jump, click on it, key, space, OK. And now we're good to go, because now you see here on our move right, we have the D and the right. On move left, A and left, and on jump, we have space, which means in our game, or when we press that button, so here for the right, when we press D or right arrow, we're gonna move to the right side. And here for the left, if we press the A key or left arrow, we're gonna move to the left, and when we press space, we're gonna jump. So what's gonna happen here in our move right is when we click on it, we're gonna say movement X is equal to move speed, like this. And when we press the left button, we're gonna say movement X is equal to negative of move speed. So move speed. So now we have the negative because the left side is the negative side, and here we have the player movement. I'm just going to tag it because at the bottom of our player movement, we're simply going to say move and slide, which is a built-in function from the kinematic body. So here simply we're going to call movement, and we are good to go. Now, of course, if I go back in our engine, Command B to test this out, we are going to have some complications, but you're going to see what you see now when I move. You see, first of all, we don't have gravity. Second, I simply press the key once. I'm not pressing it currently. I released it, but he's still moving. You see, press once and he's moving to the right or the left side, depending on what key have I pressed. So this is awkward, as you can see. We don't want our player to move like this, but maybe you want. If you want to, you can leave the code like this, but if you don't, in the else, when we don't press anything, movement X is gonna be equal to 0, because here we're going to reset it. If I go back now, and actually I need to go back in my engine, so Command B. If I go back in my engine, you see what's gonna happen? Like this. And now when I release it, he's gonna stop. When I move it, he is still there. He is, well, stopping. When I move him, he's moving. When I release it, he is stopping. So that's why here in the else statement, we need to set movement X is equal to 0, because if we don't want to move, then we need to reset the movement back. Now, also in regards to our gravity, here we're going to say movement.y plus equals gravity, which is going to apply this gravity to our player. Now, as you can see, it's going to apply this gravity to the player. And if I go back in our engine and Command B, we are going to see that the player will fall down. Now, in order to fix that, we need to go back here in our gameplay. And first of all, I'm going to right click here and add a child node. I'm simply going to add a node 2D. And this node 2D, I'm going to move it here. This is going to be our BG parent, and I'm going to duplicate one, and another one is going to be our ground parent. Now the ground parent, I'm going to right click on it and change the type. It's going to be a static body. So it's going to be a static body, and I'm going to save it. But let's go over here for the ground parent, or actually for the BG parent. So let me just find our background. So we have the sprites, we have the player. Here is our background. So this is our background, and I'm going to put this one as a child of the BG parent. Now select the background, and here I'm going to rename it to background 1 because we're going to have multiple of these. And let's go over here in the offset. I'm going to click on this centered, so I don't want it to be centered. And for the transform, I'm going to say 0, 0 for X and Y. And I'm going to duplicate it. So now we have background 2. And for the transform of background 2 for the Y position, I'm going to say 700 or negative, excuse me, 720, which is going to move the background over here, as you can see. Now, how we're going to create our backgrounds is that we are simply going to move them if I select both of them and duplicate them. So now we have background 3, and I'm not going to make it as a child, so move it over here. So we have background 3 and background 4. If I go over here for the transform and on the x-axis for both of them, I'm going to say 1280 is going to move them, as you can see, right over here. So 1280 is going to move them over here. Duplicate them again, so now we have 5 and 6. So copy these, and 1280 and 1280, how much is that? I'm not good at math, so yeah, I have no idea about math. So 1280 plus 1280, that's 2560. So here I'm going to say 2560, as you can see right here. And again, duplicate them. So I'm going to duplicate them. We're going to have 7 and 8. So for these, we also need to add 1280. So how much is that? So 1280. So let me just calculate that. So 1280, 3840. So 3840. Let's go over here, do the same thing for these. You get the point. This is what you need to do. So let me just move the 10 over here and select the 10 and 9, add 1280. So let me say here 1280, 5000 and 5,120. And this is enough. Of course, you're going to do the same thing for the right side as well. So I'm going to duplicate here background 1 and 2. Let me just move them down. So now we have here, no, not as children of background 10. So background 10 needs to go over here. So select these two, and now these are going to go on the negative 1280. You get the point. So do that up to negative. So up to negative 5,120. And we're going to do the same thing for our ground. So here for the ground parent, I'm going to select the ground, put it over here. So this is going to be our ground 1, like this. And let me just offset it. So I'm not going to offset it. I'm going to uncenter it, so to say. So I'm going to uncenter the ground. And the first ground, I'm going to position it 0 here. And Y is going to be 6, 5, 2. So yeah, this is going to be for our first ground. I'm going to duplicate it, move the ground over here, and not like this. So move it over here. Let me select it, and I'm going to hold Shift to put it right next to the other one. So select the ground, and this one, let me just select here. The Y is going to be 652. And the X is going to be 450, as you can see. So 450. And I'm going to do that for another ground. So let's go here, 450, that's 900. We have the grounds here currently. We are going to have the grounds all over where the backgrounds are. I'm just going to test the player's movement. So I'm going to test the player movement. Then I'm going to pause the video, form all of these grounds, and then you're going to see what we have. But before that, select the ground parent, right click and add a child node. And we're going to add here a collision shape, because we need to do that. And for the collision shape, I'm going to go here and select a rectangular shape, and it's right here. So what I need to do with the collision shape is resize it a little bit, take the collision shape and position it over here. And let me just resize it so that it fits the ground so that we can land on it. So if I command B now, so command B, now we stand on the ground. You see, we stand on the ground, we can move, as you can see. I still cannot jump. We will do that starting from the next video, because I wanted to create these grounds, I wanted to create the backgrounds, and now we are moving with the player. And now I am going to pause the video, form all the grounds and the backgrounds, and come back so you can copy and paste this, or simply download the complete project and copy and paste this. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I am back, and as you can see what I did, I simply duplicated these backgrounds and then I repositioned them. I duplicated the grounds and positioned them. So the difference between the grounds, if I take the ground 1, you see it's at X position 0. Y position will be the same, so 652. That's for every single ground. So don't touch the Y. For the X, as you can see, the position for the first one is X at 0. The next one is 450, which means every next one is at 450 units to the left or to the right side, as you can see. So when I move these on the left side, so this one is going to be 450. Next one is going to be 900, because 450 plus 450 plus 450, it's 900. So now take 900 and add to it 450, which is 1350. So add again 450, that's 1800, so on and so forth. You get the point. This is to the right side. To the left side, the negative one is the same numbers but only negative. So let me just find here this ground, I believe. So from ground 16, it's negative 450. Then ground 17, it's negative 900. Then 18, negative 1350. You get the point. So you're going to do this on your own. It's a bit tedious for you to watch me to create all of this. It's not fun, but this is part of game development, so you need to do it. And the same thing for our backgrounds. So if you take a look at here, the first background, so both of these are at 0 for the X. Now for the Y, this one is at negative 720, so the above one. And every background that's above, you see we have 2 of these. So the one that's up, it's at Y position negative 720. Only X position would change. And the X position will change for 1000 or 1280. So 1280. So if, for example, we have background 1 at 0, if we want to add the next one to it, then it will be at X 1280. Then the next one is at X 1280 multiplies by 2, then by 3. You get the point. You just add to it that value and it will position it right next to each other. I also added this moon just so it adds a little bit depth to our game. Looks nice. So yeah, nothing in particular. It would not change our game. Our game can function without it, but basically, yeah, this is setting up our level and creating players' movement. So starting from the next video, we're gonna animate the player, make him jump. So we'll see you then. What is cracking, people? In the previous video, we started our 2D platformer-ish game and we created our level and we created the movement of the player. But we didn't animate the player and we didn't make him jump. So let's take a look at how we can do that. So I have the player over here, and in order to animate him, we need to get this component or this node, you see, animation, because this is his animation. And in order to do that, we need to go back here, and I already have a reference to it, as you can see, but we need to get the real reference inside of the ready function. So I need to say here animation is equal to get node, and not name, get node. The node type is animated sprite. You see here, this is the type of the node, animated sprite. And how do I know that? If I go over here and hover over it, you see the type is animated sprite. And now we need to provide the name of the node that we want to get. So what is the name of it? It's animation, like this. And let me just Command B here to remove these. So yeah, we also need to use the jump force so that this right here will be removed. Can I remove it like this? No. I don't know. Anyways, it's not important. So we have here the animated sprite and we get it here from the animation. What I'm gonna do is go below the player movement, and here I'm going to create a void function that's gonna animate our player. And I'm going to call this one animate movement, which takes 2 Boolean parameters. One is gonna be bool moving, and another one is gonna be bool move right. And why do we need this? Well, we will see in a second. First of all, if we are moving, so here if moving, not move right, but if moving, come on, finally. So if we are moving, then simply we're going to call animation.play and we're going to play the walk animation. How do I know it's walk? Well, if I go back here, you see I have 2 animations, walk and idle. As you can see over here, I have selected walk, now I have idle. If you want them to play, so if you want to play one of them, if I want to play the walk, simply click or call play and call walk. There you go, simple as that. And here, else, if we are not moving, so else, if we are not moving, simply, we're going to go and call here idle, which is going to play the idle animation. Now, we are going to call this inside over here. So let me just take this. So here when we are moving, you see we're moving to the right, which means here I'm going to say true for moving and true moving to the right side. As you can see, move right. We have here move right. And here we're moving to the left, so here I'm going to say true for moving and false because we're moving to the left side. Move right here is false. And here when we stop moving, we can simply say false here, and here we can say either true or false. It doesn't matter because we will see in a second, but I want to demonstrate you one thing. So if we go back over here and I hit Command B to play our game, which is going to run it, notice now when I start moving, you see he is animated, everything is cool, this is totally normal, right? Well, wrong, because now if I go to the left side, you see he's moving backwards. Except if you want to have this kind of functionality where your player is moving backwards for I don't know what reason, because I don't know. You're weird, So yeah, anyways, you see if I click or hold Command D, or Command D, just D or A or left arrow or right arrow, what's wrong with me? You see he's moving, he's being animated, but when he goes to the left side, he's not facing that side. That's why I added this right here, move right. Why? Well, because if we are moving over here, so when we are moving, I'm going to also check if move right, so if we're moving to the right side, else if we're moving to the left side, because if we are moving to the right, I need to go back here and demonstrate that for you. Notice where the player is facing. He is currently looking to the right side. If I select the animation, which is our animated sprite, and go over here in the inspector and for the properties, you see here I have something called flip H and flip V. Hey, H is for horizontal, V is for vertical. If I check this on for H, you see he's gonna flip it and he's gonna start looking to the left side. As you can see, flip it again, he's looking to the right side, flip it again, left side. You see what I mean? So when we flip it, and by default, as you can see how this sprite is created, he is facing the right side. So when we don't flip it, he's gonna face the right side, which means over here, we're going to call animation flip H is false, because when we don't flip it, he's looking the right side. And here else, if we're moving to the left side, we need to flip it, because as again, I said that by default, this sprite is looking to the right side, how it's created. So if we try to move to the left, we need to flip it. If I go back now and Command B to run our game, you will see now when I go to the right, he is facing the right side, which is okay. We're not flipping him. But if we go to the left, pay attention. You see, bam, he is flipping. Flippa, flippa. You see, he is flipping. You know, flipping. Anyways, I don't want to annoy you, even though you're annoyed, but you're here to learn. So when we go to the right side now, everything is cool. We are not flipping him. He's facing the right side. If we go to the left, he is also being, or he's flipped and looking to the left side, which brings me back here in our else. You see, here in the else statement, when we stop moving, so here these two are for movement. So if we move to the right side, true is for movement, and true, we're moving to the right. If we're moving to the left, so movement is true, so we're moving, and here false because we are moving to the left side. But in the else statement, we're not moving. So here we can say false, or we need to say false because we're not moving. And here we can say either true or false. And notice if I go back here, and not over here, but Command B over here, you will notice that nothing will happen. I can move, you see, he's moving and everything is fine. If I stop the movement, he is facing the side where I have stopped moving. So if I'm holding A key and I release it, he's facing the left, and this is where he is gonna face when I release the button. Because if you go over here in our animation or animate movement, only if we are moving, we are going to flip him. Else, if we are not moving, we're not gonna flip him. And that is basically what we are doing here. And this is how we can determine when to move, when not to move, and when to flip the character. So moving forward, what is the next step to do? Now we need to jump. And in order to jump, we have a built-in function from our kinematic body 2D. So this bad boy over here. So if I go here right above our move and slide, and move and slide is also a function that we simply provide. So we call it, it's built into kinematic body, which will move into the direction where we provided. And we provided movement here. And we know we are getting the movement over here. So if we press the right arrow key or the D key, we're gonna say movement X is equal to move speed. If we press the A key or the left arrow, move speed is negative. So we're moving to the left or to the right. If we don't press, movement X is 0. But here I'm going to test if is on floor. So this is a built-in function. It will tell us if we are on the floor. And if that is the case, if our input dot is key just, so is action just pressed, and that action is going to be jump. And if you remember in the first video, we set the jump to be equal to space. So when we press space on our keyboard, we are going to jump. But notice here, so what is the next thing to do? We need to say movement dot y is going to be equal to jump force. Simple as that. You see, movement y is equal to jump force. If I go back, and in our game, Command B, let's test it out and see if it actually works. So Command B, if I jump, nothing is working. What is wrong with teacher? You're crazy. What are you doing? Calm down. Calm down, man. I'm pressing space, but it is not working. So what is the issue? You see here, if I go back, we have the jump. And just to be 100% sure that I added the jump. So input map, here it is. So we have the jump is space. So yeah, everything was clear, but it's not working. Why? Well, because you see here, move and slide, we need to tell it, if I hover over, you see, I don't know if you can see the explanation. You see here we have move and slide, which takes a vector to a linear velocity, but it also takes a vector to floor normal. What does that mean? We need to tell it where is the floor. We know that going down, so in Godot engine, when we go down, and if I take here my highlight tool, so highlight, going down, and come on, highlight. So this is the coordinate system. This is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. Plus is over here, negative is over here for the x, but for the y, negative is up, plus is down. So when we go down, we are going positive, we are going plus, which means we need to tell in which direction is the floor. And in order to tell that, we have this right here, up direction. You see, up direction, because I'm saying up because this is a shortcut for writing this. New vector 2, 0 for the x, 1 for the y. So this is that shortcut. So if I say here vector 2 up, it's the same thing as if I wrote vector 2, 0 for x, 1 for the y. So yeah, I need to get that out of the way. But here we need to provide that. So we need to say here up dri, so up dri, which essentially will have a positive value, which means we're going down. So now it will inform our kinematic body that down is the floor. So if I go back now here and command B to run our game, let's see if the floor will be detected. Space, wee, space, wee, space, wee. You get the point. You see now it knows where is the floor or the ground because we told it it's down, it's below us. But we also have one more issue. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say gd.print, which is Godot for print. And here I'm going to say the value is like this. I'm going to say plus movement. Now this movement over here is our movement. You see, it's our movement over here that we are adding to it. You see over this, everything here that we're adding. But I want to show you one thing. If I go back here in our engine and command B, notice what's going to happen in the output. We are going to print, so let's go here in the output. You see the value keeps increasing even though we're just standing on the ground. You see, I'm just standing. If I jump, you see the value is at the value that we provide, but then it starts increasing. And we don't want that. So I'm just gonna close this. You see, we don't want that. It's increasing, even though it's not gonna hurt our game, but maybe you will need it for something else where it will hurt your game if you have it like this. So in order to fix it, we need to simply say here movement is equal to move and slide, and here provide, well, simply movement. So everything else is gonna be the same, except here we're going to say movement is equal to move and slide, and voila, that is that. So if I go back now here and command B, so command B to run the game. Notice now what's going to happen here in the output. We're standing, you see we're standing, but the output is, if I clear it, you see the output is 0. If I jump, we go up to negative 90 or 80, 800, how much we set, and then it's going to go back down again. You see, if I go over here, let me just find where we jumped. Where did we jump? Here it is. So we jumped, so the value was negative 900. Then it fell down because we're subtracting gravity. As you can see over here, we're actually adding gravity. You see plus equals gravity, then we move down. But then when we land on the floor, you see the movement value starts to get 0, 0, 0, 0. And we don't want that, even though, as I already said, this will not hurt our game, the previous one where we added the values, but I just wanted to show you that in case you create some game on your own, use this, or you use this code that I provided over here, and then you have issues. So this is how you will know what the issue is. And basically this is how we can animate and move our player. And starting from the next video, we will probably add the camera. So program the movement of the camera, then we will add enemies, and yeah, wrapping up our game. If you want to learn more about Godot, I have that in my Game Development Academy. Hopefully by now I have also Blender and Game Maker, and I'm working on Unreal if I don't have it already. Click on the link below, and I probably have a month trial. So I have 1 month trial for $2. So you can try the Academy out for $2. Click on the link below and you can learn for 1 month for $2. Like, yeah. So yeah, I will see you guys in another video. What's cracking, people? Back at again with our 2D platformer game. So in the previous video, we programmed the player jump, and we also programmed animations. Now we're gonna make the camera follow player, because if I hit the play button, command B to run the game, we are going to see that well, our player can go outside of this screen, and this is not what we want. We want the camera to follow him. That's simple. So let's take a look at how we can do that. And by the way, if you want to try out my academy, you can do that. Link will be in the description below. Try it out for 1 month for $2. And if you don't want to invest $2, then, well, yeah, good luck learning game development. So yeah. Anyways, let me just go back over here. Why can't I move this a little bit down? So yeah, now I can. So if I go into the gameplay, this is what we have. This is our scene, this right over here. And let me just draw so that I can show you what I mean. So this over here, this is our scene. I'm not sure if you can see these lines, but it's not important, but that is what we see. And if I go back over here and let me just fold all of this in the gameplay and right click and add the child node, I'm going to add the camera 2D. I'm going to call this bad boy main cam. And this main camera, let me just go over here in the transform of it, and the position for it is going to be 640 by 360. Because half of the width and the height of our screen, so that we can position it at the center. But even though we have the camera, if I command B to run our game, we are still gonna go out of the screen, as you can see already. So how can we make the camera follow the player? First of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to click on the camera and we're gonna create a script. So let me just go over here in the scripts and right click and create a new C# script, and I'm going to call that one camera follow. So let's go over here, camera, so camera follow, and I'm going to hit create. And of course, select the main camera and go over here at the bottom and on the scripts here where it's empty, click here to load it, and we're gonna load it from the scripts and camera follow, voila. Let me just double click this bad boy and open it this in Visual Studio. Okay, so let me just tag this. And let's go over here. So what do we need? Everything, or the magic is going to happen in our override. Let me just go like this so that I can format this correctly. And we're going to inherit from node 2D instead of the node only. So node 2D, the next thing that we need to do is we need to get or create a private node 2D for our player. So I'm going to call this one player target. And well, we are going to use it to get the player. Now also here we're going to have a public bool. Player died, because when we die, we don't want the camera to follow the player. And here in our ready function, we are going to say here player target is equal to, but first we need to get the parent. So we need to say here get parent, because if we just use get node, we cannot use this. So here I'm going to say get node, and it's going to be node 2D like this. And I'm going to call it player. I cannot just say this. I cannot just say get node 2D, because the player is not a child of the camera. Get node, so when you call get node on a node or on a game object, it will try to get the node that is a child of it. That's why we need to get the parent, and the parent is the gameplay. So first we get the parent, then we get the child. And let me just go over here in the process. If the player has died, we are going to return. Now, return means simply exit out of the function, because if we have died, if the player is dead, well, there is no need for us to, continue to follow him. And besides that, we're going to kill the player, move him out of the game, so that will not even be possible. So below, if the player is not dead, we're going to say here vector2 temporary position is equal to the current position of our camera. Next, we're simply going to say temporary position, or actually, we don't even need to do this. We are simply going to say temporary position is equal to player target. So player target dot get the position. So we're going to get the position from the player target, and simply we're going to say position of the camera is equal to temp. And this is how we are going to follow it. And even so, we can simply do this. So like this, we don't even need this vector2. So we can simply say position is equal to player target get the position. So if I go back here in my engine, command B to run it, we are going to notice now the camera is going to follow our player, but that is not the case. And I told you the camera is going to follow the player. What is the issue now? Well, the issue is we need to select the main camera, and we need to go over here. Let me just find where it says. So position, scale, offset. Here it is inside of the camera 2D. So we have the offset, we have the anchor, rotating, zoom. We have something here that is called current. Let me just find it. Here it is, current. This needs to be checked. So when you check that checkbox, that means that the current camera, or what we currently see, will be the main camera. So if I command B to run the game now, we will notice that the camera now is following the player. So if I move to the left, you see the camera is following the player. If I jump, the camera is following the player. If I go back over here, again, the camera is following the player, as you can see. You see now? And now we have the camera following the player. And I don't want to resize this like this. So what is the next step to do? Well, the next step to do is we are going to add our monsters in our game, and then we are going to start spawning them in our game and all of the good stuff. Anyways, Fire here from Mr.com. If you want to try out my game development academy for 1 month, you can do that. $2 only for that. Link will be in the description below. And yeah, I will see you guys in another video. What's up, people? Fire here from Godot.com, and in the previous video we have the camera following the player. So what is the next step to do? The next step is to create the enemies and put them in our game. So let us see how we can do that. But hey, if you want to try out game development, if you want to try out my game development academy, so now I have it right, you can do that for $2. Link will be in the description below. So what we can do now is here we're going to click on the plus button. So this is going to be our empty scene, and this is where we are going to create our zombies. Now let me just double click on this node scene, and I'm going to rename this one to red zombie, because first we are going to have the red zombie. Now, well, actually the green one, whichever one you prefer. But what is the issue here is that we need to change. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to change the type of this node, because it is going to be a kinematic body. So yeah, a kinematic body, and I'm going to save that one here in the scenes folder. I'm also going to right click on it and add a child. This is going to be our animated sprite. So click on the animated sprite and double click on it, and I'm going to call this one animation because we are going to need this bad boy. And selecting the animated sprite, let me just clear everything here, going into the animation. So clicking over here, clicking here on new frames, we are going to create a new frame. This is going to be our walk animation, and this is the green zombie. So let's go over here. And in the enemies for the sprites, we have the zombie green. Select all these images, so all the images, and put them over here. So if I zoom on our zombie and click here to play, you will see now the zombie is playing, but I'm going to add 12 frames so that he plays a little bit faster, because I believe 12 frames is okay. Yeah, 12 frames is okay. You can pump it up if you believe it's not okay, so yeah, that's up to you. I'm going to select the green zombie game object and go here, add node, and I'm going to add a collision shape 2D. Now for the collision shape 2D, we need to select here a shape, so it's going to be a rectangular one, and I'm going to simply move this over here in the middle and resize it. So move it a little bit more in the middle, something like this. And the zombie's animation is confusing me, so I need to uncheck it so that it doesn't play. And now I can simply resize this dude, and voila, we are good to go. So this is going to be our green zombie. This is everything we need to do for him. If I go over here in our scenes, I'm going to duplicate the green zombie, and I'm going to call this one red zombie. So we're going to have a red zombie. I'm going to duplicate the green zombie again, and I'm going to call this one ghost. So select here the red zombie and double click here, and I'm going to change this one to red zombie. And selecting here the animation for the sprite, I'm going to select all these frames, or actually I'm simply going to delete all of this and create a new animation for the walk. And go simply here inside of our folder and select all the animations for the red zombie and simply put them here. That's all we need to do. Everything else is going to be the same. And doing the same thing for the ghost. So here it is, ghosty, ghost, 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 ghost. I'm a ghost, 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 ghost. Anyways, here is a ghost. We need to do the same thing. Select the animation here, delete this one, so the walk one needs to go. You gotta go walk one, no delete nodes. Click on the animation, delete it, click here on a new anim, and I'm going to call this one walk. Let's go over here, and frames are going to be 12. And also for the red zombie over here, I forgot that you need to put the frames at 12, so this animation is well played. And let's go over here in the enemies, and we have the ghosts. Select all the ghosts, put them over here, and voila. But for the ghost, we need to move this a little bit here, something like this. Can do, just resize a little bit more. And if I play it, let's go here in the animation and play it. This is our ghosty ghosty. Look at the ghost, look at the ghost. So yeah, basically these are our animations. And I can go here inside of the scripts folder and right click, and I can create a new script. This is going to be a new C# script. So let's go over here, new script, and I'm going to call this one monster. This is going to be a universal script. You're going to attach it on the go. So let's go over here and load in scripts and monster. So attach it on the monster, red zombie, select it, go here under scripts and load scripts and monster. Green zombie, go select it, go here, scripts, empty, load, and let's go under scripts and monster. So make sure that it is attached on every single one of these enemies. And let me just go over here and make sure that you check these animations so that these animations are playing. So let's go over here, the animations are playing. And let's go in our Visual Studio. And for the monster, what do we need? First of all, the monster is also going to inherit from kinematic body 2D. Make sure it's a kinematic body 2D. Don't click or don't select kinematic body only. So it's going to be a kinematic body 2D. Let me just put this over here. So what do we need in order to move our zombies? Well, we need the move speed, so it's going to be a private float move speed. By default, I'm going to say 600 because I want the zombies to move fast as the speed of light. We're also going to have a private gravity, so private float gravity, which is going to be equal to 20F. We're also going to have a private vector, so private vector 2, this is going to be our movement. And you can see where this is going. I'm going to do the similar thing I did for our player. We're also going to have here a private, or actually it's going to be a public one. So here I'm going to say public bool move left to determine if we're going to move left or right. And we're also going to have a public bool is ghost. And because we don't want the ghost to be at the bottom or actually landing on the ground, because the ghost is floating. That's why we're going to check if we have a ghost. We are also going to have here a private float minimum underscore x and a maximum underscore x. Now for what you're going to use these, well, simply here in our gameplay, I'm going to click on the plus here, and actually no, not here. I'm going to click on this link, which is going to allow me to, let's say for example, attach the ghost. And I'm going to take the ghost and somewhere over here, okay? So this is going to be the minimum. So the minimum is going to be negative 5090. So that is the minimum x. So here we can go and we can say minimum x is equal to negative 5900. And I said 90, but it's actually 900. So I can take the ghost now and not, let me just go over here. What did I do? I put it as a child of the main camera. So let's see, negative 5900. Okay, it can also be here. So yeah, it can be that value. I don't care because we're going to queue it. That's why here, let me just go and not the background, but select the ghost. And over here, let's say 6,650. Yeah, 6,650 is going to be the maximum x. So let's go over here. Maximum is going to be equal to this value. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to have the bounce, because when the zombies or the ghost or whatever goes out of the screen, we don't need it anymore. So we are going to kill it. We're going to queue it. And that's why we're using minimum and maximum. What is going to happen inside of the ready function? Well, we're going to determine first of all, if this dot name is equal to ghost. So if the name of this game object or this node holding the script is the ghost, we're going to say is ghost is equal to true. Now we are also going to check here if move left, so move left right here. If we are supposed to move left, we need to say here move speed. So move speed is going to be multiplied equals to, so multiplied equals to by negative 1f. And then we're going to say here get the node, and the node is going to be animated sprite. And the name of that node is animation. And then simply we're going to say flip horizontal is going to be equal to true. This is if we are moving to the left side. If we are moving to the right side, we're not going to do this. But if we're moving to the left, then we are going to do it. And simply here in our physics process, so here I'm going to say underscore physics process. This is going to be the physics process. Here we're going to say movement like this dot y, and we're going to say plus equals gravity. But we are going to check if this is not the ghost. So if not the ghost, then we are going to do that. Now pay attention here. I added an exclamation mark. What is an exclamation mark? Well, it makes what's after it the opposite. If this is ghost is true, this will make it the opposite, which means it will make it false. and voila. But if this is ghost is false, then what we're gonna do is, well, if it's a ghost actually, if it's not the ghost, excuse me. So here, as you can see, I'm adding is ghost, I'm saying it to be equal to true if this game object or node has the value or name ghost. So if this is not the ghost, we are going to add the gravity. And as I said, if this is ghost is true, then this will make it the opposite, which is false, and this right here will not be executed. But if this is ghost is false, this will make it the opposite, which is true, and this will be executed. Simple as that. And simply here, I'm going to say movement. So movement.x is equal to move speed, and then we're simply going to call here movement is equal to move and slide, and here we're going to pass the movement. Simple as that. And that is all we need to do. And we can test this out and not over here. And in order to test it out, I'm going to go here and let's say I attach the ghost. So let's see, I've attached the ghost. I'm going to put the ghost over here, and I'm going to command B. So let's see if this actually is going to work. So now the ghost should come from our right side or left side, and that is the case, but the ghost also went out of the screen, so we need to kill the ghost. That's why we have the bounce. So let's go over here, and what I can simply do is I can test if the position.x is greater than the maximum x, or if the position.x is less than the minimum x. We can queue free, so we can queue free our zombie or the ghost or whatever. Again, notice here, if the position x of that game object, be that the ghost or whatever, if it's greater than the maximum x, queue free, or if it's lower than the minimum x, then queue free. This means this is an OR operator, or however it's called. This means only one of these needs to be true. So this can either be true or this can either be true. If both of these are not true, only then we will not execute this queue free. But if this is true, if only one of these is true, then we will execute it. By the way, notice here I didn't add parentheses or curly brackets, because if you only have one statement after the if statement, if you only have one line of code after that, you don't have to call curly brackets. So you can do it without curly brackets, but only if you have one line of code. If you add here another line of code, for example, int a is equal to, I don't know, 15 or 12 like this, then this right here, this int a will not be executed inside of the if statement. So again, remember that. And we cannot test this out, unfortunately. We can, I mean, if we follow our game object and all of the good stuff, but let me just try to do this. I'm gonna run the game and try to run over here, but since I've added the value to the zombie, he will move faster than me. You see, he will move faster, and let's hope, and here we need to put the correct or arrange the backgrounds correctly. So yeah, as you can see, we don't see him anymore. You can do the exact same thing to put the bounce for the player. This will be your homework following this tutorial. So do the exact same thing to put the bounce on the player. And here I made a mistake for these bounce. Yeah, for the background, but this is, well, easily adjustable, so don't worry about that. Anyways, this was about our monsters. In the next video, we're going to start spawning them in our game. Then we are going to start detecting the collision, all the good stuff. Anyways, if you want to try out my academy, $2 only, click the link below, and I will see you guys in another video. Howdy diddly do, people! Moving forward with our game, let us start spawning the enemies in the game so the player can avoid them and all of the good stuff. And yeah, this is getting awkward. Let's get into the game. So the first thing that we need to do is go here in the scripts folder. I'm gonna right click over here and use C# script. Make sure it's a C# one. Let's go over here and I'm going to call this one gameplay. So gameplay. And make sure that you attach it here on the gameplay game object. So script, empty, load. We're gonna go under scripts and I'm going to select the gameplay. So first of all, let me just double click it and open it here in Visual Studio. While we are waiting to open our script and giving space and all of this here, if you want to try out my academy, you can do that for $2. Link will be in the description below. 1 month access for $2 just to try it out. And if you like it, you can stick with it. If you don't, well, then don't. Simple as that. So here in our gameplay, and we can inherit node, it's not a problem. We need, first of all, an export variable. It's going to be a private packed scene, and we are going to have the green zombie. So green zombie, red zombie, and the ghost. I'm a ghost, 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 ghost. And what is the next step? We also need a private vector to spawn underscore left. And we also need, and here, of course, I'm going to say new vector 2 like this, and we need spawn right. This is the position where we are going to spawn these game objects, or nodes, or however you want to call them. Let me just go over here first, and I am going to take, let's take the red zombie and put it over here. So somewhere around here we can start spawning. This is on the left side, by the way, so the y-axis can be 455. So here I'm going to say comma 455 for the y on both here. So comma again 455 for the y. And let's go back. So for the left side it's negative 5,010. Or simply it can be 5,000. It can be 5,000. So let's go over here and put it. So what did I just do? Command V to paste it, okay? So negative 5,000, this is for the left side, and for the right side, we need to go back over here, and I need to take this bad boy. So let's take him and put him over here. Positive 6,390. So here it can be positive 6,390 F. This is where we are going to start spawning these. Or actually, let me just go back. Probably here, 6,090, because let me just make sure where is the bounds for the monster. So yeah, it can be negative 5,090. Let me just go over here and see. Negative 5,000. Yeah, it can be like this. And here, 6,390, because here is the positive 6,650. So yeah, this can do. So these two are going to be our... These are going to be where we are going to spawn these enemies. And in order to spawn them, we need to create a function. So I'm going to go over here and remove this. And I'm going to call this on void on monster spawn underscore spawn like this. We are going to spawn the monster. Now, how we are going to do that? Well, it's going to be very easy. First of all, here I'm going to say int a random enemy. So rand enemy, it's going to be equal to new random. Like this, and I'm going to say here next from 0 up to 3. This is going to return a number between 0 and 3, but not including 3. So it will return 0, 1, or 2. And here we're going to say switching case, and here I'm going to pass my random enemy, and based on the case, so the value case can be 0 like this. So case 0 and like this, and below we need to say break. We're going to have case 1 and case 2. So here case 1 and here case 2. Of course, here at the top, we need to say monster, and I'm going to call this one new monster. So new monster is going to be equal to null, like this. And depending on here, if we have case 0, we're going to spawn a green zombie. So we're going to say new monster is equal to green zombie.instance as monster, like this. And here below, I'm going to duplicate this, and this is going to be the red zombie. And here below, I'm going to duplicate this, and this is going to be the ghost. So depending on the random value here from 0 up to 2, so 0, 1, or 2, we are going to either spawn the green zombie, the red zombie, or the ghost. Ghost. Anyways, what we are going to do next is here I'm going to say vector2 temp is going to be equal to, or simply declare it. And I hear my fans going crazy, and not fans like you are my fan, but here, let me just go show preferences. And I'm going to put them over here. I think this is okay, so that we don't hear them and I don't have to edit this and all of the annoying things. So the next thing that we need to do over here is we're going to again randomize here. I'm going to say new random, and I'm going to call here next from 0 to 2. If that number is greater than 0, we are going to spawn to the right side. So here spawn to the right. Else, if this number is not greater than 0, meaning it's a 0, so else here below, not packed scene, but this over here, come on, what are you doing? Like this. Else, we're going to say here spawn left. So what's going to happen here is you're going to say temp is equal to spawn right. And here we're going to say temp is equal to spawn left, like this. But also here, if we are spawning to the right side, our enemy needs to start moving to the left side. So what we need to do is we need to say here new monster dot move left is equal to true. Why? again, if I go over here, you see if we spawn him to the right side, this is on the right side. You see, this is our player and this is the right side. So our enemy needs to start moving to the left side. So that is the reason why. So let me just remove this. Okay. And practically the last thing that we need to say here is new monster dot set position. We are going to pass here temp and add the child, new monster, new monstero, and voila. Now we can call this here in the ready function, so I can spawn it here calling it in the ready function. Let's go over here, command B, just to see if this actually works. Will this work? Will this work? And we have a debugger. Let me just see. Oh, you see here? Notice we have a null reference exception. And the line where we have it, it's 31 and 15. Let's go in the 31 and 15. So 15, this is the line over here. And 31, okay, let me just, okay. You see, this is where we had that problem. Now the reason for that is this. I need to go and select the gameplay. I need to attach these. So here for the green zombie, drag and drop, attach the green zombie. For the red one, drag and drop, attach the red one. And for the ghost, drag and drop and attach the ghost. I'm a ghost. And I'm going to command B now and everything works. But pay attention now. We are going to have a monster either from the right side or from the left side. Okay, here he is. So he is spawned. It works. But we only have one. That is the issue. We only have one, and in order to spawn more, we need to call this function repeatedly over and over and over again. So let's do that. So right click here on the gameplay and I'm going to click here, add a child node. This is going to be a timer. We need to go back over here and this monster spawn, let me just remove it. I'm not going to call it in the ready. I'm going to copy this name on monster spawn because I'm going to go here, select the timer, go under his node and signals and select the timeout. Connect the signal over here at the gameplay. So connect that signal and name the signal on monster spawn and hit connect. But we need to select the timer again. Go here in the inspector. I'm going to say, let's say every 2 seconds and auto start on its own. One shot. Don't check this. If you check it, it will be only called once. If this is not checked, it will be called over and over and over again. So let's see that. And I'm going to hit command B. And now we should see monsters spawning from both sides. And every 2 seconds, we're going to have new monster. Okay, this is a ghost. I'm a ghost. We can probably move the y-axis a little bit lower so that the ghost is not that. But you see, we have one issue here. One issue, another issue. So we have issues here, okay? We have issues, as you can see. And our game is lagging and all of the good stuff. You see, okay, we will see how we can fix this starting from the next video. But what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go back and probably not 455. Let me just take the ghost and position him over here. Where's my ghost? No, not a child of the timer. Where is the ghost? Here he is. And move the ghost over here. Move a little bit down. Something like this can do. Transform here. It's negative. So, oh, actually for the Y, not the X. Here I'm going to say 35. So 535. This is going to be our Y. Or actually, yeah, RY. So here, negative 535, so that the ghost is lower, a little bit lower to the ground. Anyways, this is, well, all for this video. We're spawning the monsters. In the next video, we're going to detect collision between the monsters and the player. We are also going to see how we can avoid collisions between the monsters and all the good stuff. If you want to try out my game development academy, you can do that for just $2. 1 month pass for $2. If you want it, go get it. If not, good luck learning game development. And I will see you guys in another video. What is a cracking, people? This is the last video of this series, Monster Chase game, which is a 2D platformer-ish game in Godot game engine. So let's get into it. We need to detect collision between the player and the zombies and kill him. We need to also prevent collision between the zombies and themselves. And yeah, we also need to restart the game when the player dies. So let's take a look at how we can do all of that. So yeah, so the first thing that I am going to do, I am going to go over here in our green zombie and we are going to undo the collision with the zombies. So I'm going to make sure that the zombies are not colliding with each other. So we can do that by selecting the green zombie game object over here, the kinematic body. And here for the collision, I am going to set the layer over here where it is, but the mask, I'm going to move it over here. So make sure that you move the mask over here. Do the same thing for the red zombie. So let's go over here, collision, move the mask over here. Also for the ghost, select him, collision, and here move the mask, and everything is gonna be okay. Simple fix is that. So if I Command B to run our game, we are going to see now that our zombies are not hitting each other. Or actually they can hit each other, but they're going to simply pass between each other, you see? Okay, but I can collide with them, so they collided with me. Okay, now you see the zombie has passed, and we have another ghost, and now you saw they passed through each other. So yeah, you saw it. I'm not gonna repeat it again. You saw it, you're not blind. Okay, what is the next step? Well, here I'm gonna go on the player and select the player and Command B, or actually right click and attach an area 2D. So I'm going to attach an area 2D, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to zoom in on this collision shape, and I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to resize it like this, or actually no. Delete it. Why did I duplicate it? Resize the collision like this. So simply resize the collision like this. But here for the area 2D, I'm gonna right click and add another collision 2D or collision shape. And here for the empty, we're going to select here a rectangular shape. But this one, so select this one, I'm going to resize this bad boy. So let me just move him over here, something like this. Just a little more, a little bit upwards. No, select this one. Okay, this one, and voila. So this is going to be our collision. Now, what we need to do is we need to create a function. So select the collision area and go here under node. And here we're going to select this body entered. So make sure you select that. Connect it with the player over here. So connect is at the bottom right corner. And here I'm simply going to call this function on body entered, and I'm going to connect it. So let's go in the player. And here I'm going to say void on body entered, which takes a physics body 2D, which I'm simply going to call body. What's going to happen over here? Well, here we're going to test if the body, so if body is in group enemy like this, then what's going to happen? We are going to queue free our player. But first of all, let me just select this enemy, copy this. So we need to go back here in our engine, select the green zombie, and here green zombie, and where it says node signals, we have down the right side group. Select the group and here pasted enemy and click add. Do the same thing for the red zombie. So here paste add. Go here on the ghost, do the same thing and paste it, and voila, we're good to go. So what's gonna happen now, if I Command B, we are gonna go over here, and when one of the zombies or monsters touches us, we are going to see one thing. First of all, we're going to have an error. We're going to fix it, don't worry. But let me just show you that. Bam, you see? We crashed, our app crashed. What happened here? Well, in the camera follow on line 23, camera follow, line 23, this is the error. The error is we are using the player target, but we have died. This is why we're going to use player died variable over here. So when we die, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say get the parent, which is the gameplay parent. Then I'm going to say get the node, and the node is going to be camera follow, so camera follow. And the name of the node is going to be main cam, so main camera dot player died is equal to true. So we need to inform it. You see, player died is true, so that this right here will be true. So if player died, we're gonna hit return and we are not gonna follow the player. Let's check that out. So Command B to run our game again and see will that work. So now when one of the zombies touches us, we're gonna die, but the game is not going to. So let's go over here, and now bam, you see I've died. You see I've died, but the game is still on. The game is still on and we didn't crash, okay? So what is the next step? We need to restart the game when we die. And for that, we're gonna select our gameplay and go inside. So go inside of the gameplay. And what we are gonna do is here below, I'm going to create void. So void underscore on player underscore died like this. And here simply I'm going to say get the tree dot reload the current scene. And here I'm going to simply say public void player died like this, and I'm going to say here restart dot start. Now what is this restart? Well, here on top we are going to create a private timer that I'm going to call restart like this, And here inside of our ready function, we're going to say restart is equal to get the node, which is going to be our timer node. And I'm going to call it restart like this. So now we need to create it. So let's go here and let's go in our engine, select the gameplay and add a child. It's going to be a timer, and double click on it and rename it to restart. We do need to copy this function name, so on player died, so make sure that you copy it. And selecting the on or restart, go in the node and signals, select the timeout, connect it on the gameplay and paste here. So we are going to paste the on player died and connect it. Everything is okay. The only thing that is left for us to do is go back here in the inspector, select the timer, and here I'm going to check one shot, and I'm going to say here 2, which means after 2 seconds we are going to call it. So when we call over here, so when we call restart, after 2 seconds it will call this signal over here, and voila, that is that. And we are only going to call it once. That's why I set here one shot to be true, because we don't want to restart the game 2,000 times when the player dies. And over here in the player, when we die, so we get the parent over here for the camera to inform the camera that we have died, but we also need to say here get the parent, which is going to be our gameplay, and we need to say here player died to inform it that the player has died, which will in turn go back here in the gameplay. It will call this right here restart start. After 2 seconds it will call this and we will restart our game. So if I command B now, so command B, let's take a look at here what we have. So here, and let's try to jump, and now when we die, so let me just wait over here because one of the monsters will show up eventually. Bam, we died. Boom, the game has restarted. Okay, you see now, congratulations, you have created a 2D platformer. Maybe this is not technically a 2D platformer, but probably some of you wise guys will correct me, and I don't care about that. You're here to learn. I named a 2D platformer because I didn't know the genre of this game. Anyways, you can download the complete project, link will be in the description below, along with this, with the assets. You can use them for whatever you want to use them. Of course, you're going to use it to follow the tutorial, but congratulations, you have created your first game in the Godot game engine, my brother. And until next time, fahirfromstu.com if you want to try out my Game Dev Academy for $2, 1 month. Click the link below, and I will see you guys in another video.